Hey, Des here from Aro-Tarot, and I'm finally getting around to starting to do tarot deck reviews. Probably maybe do some oracle ones more as I start to use more oracles. I've been using oracles more, so yeah. But I've been wanting to start this for a bit, but I've been really tired in February. So I got the house to myself. It's like, I'm gonna do some videos. But yeah, I actually even have a structure for how I'll do the reviews. Because knowing me, if I don't write it down and I'm looking at it, I'm gonna forget something. So yeah, the deck I decided to do first, originally I actually had filmed a review for one of my favorite tarot decks. But I felt like I was a bit too salty. I think I did mention this in my last video I put up, which was, what was that? Oh, it was an unboxing. I'm in the Dragon Tarot, I mentioned it, but I figured that even though this is a deck that's been reviewed a lot, you know, it came out in, I think, I saw 2010 in here. So, but I also thought I saw 2015. What was it? Oh, the artwork was done 2010. The edition, yeah, it came out 2010. My printing was 2015. So that's where the 2015 came in. Yeah, it's been out for some years now. A lot of people like it, and I felt like it's gonna be I feel like it should be the first one that I review. It was the second deck I ever got. So, yeah. Which, if you could tell from, like, the title, you already know what deck I'm talking about. I mean, yeah. It's the Shadowscapes Tarot. And yeah, this is the second deck I ever got. I put up a 2. I don't know if I don't know if I put my hand high enough. And this deck I got in for the Christmas of 2016. And I haven't been using this deck much lately, but when I got it, I used it a lot. I used this deck, and I used the Steampunk Tarot, like, a lot, because I was learning. Steampunk one more so for the learning, and the Shadowscapes more so for readings. I'd even be like, yo, Nana, which deck do you want me to use? I got this one and this one. She's like, I want you to read with this one. It's pretty. So I'd be like, okay. So, yeah, like, so I did use this deck a lot, and I noticed that, like, my experience with it's a bit different than others, and I don't know, like, even though I haven't used it in a while, like, from what I even remember of when I was using it a lot, it was still a bit different, and just, you know, the feeling I get from it's different, so I thought that, you know, with that in play, it would even be better to do a review of it. Anyway, so yeah. I have it all lined up of what to talk about. This is kind of beaten up. The first point to talk about would be what it comes in. And the version that I'm talking about is my version of the deck is the first edition 6th printing. Copyright 2015. So, if the cardstock's changed since then, if the box has changed since then, I don't think they've had this deck in my store lately, but even after I got it, it looked like it was the same boxing. So what it comes in is there's two different kinds you can get. You can actually get it in a small tuck box, and it just doesn't come with the book. You know, it's just got a little white book. You can get that. Or you could get it with the book like I did for Christmas. I specifically pointed it out. I think actually I was there because my aunt was like, I want to buy you a book. And I'm like, what if you get me a tarot deck and has a book in it? And she's like, okay, tarot's cool. So, yes. How I talked to, is it? No, she got me a tarot book and then my Nana got me, I think, the deck. Anyway. I just keep talking. But the version I got is, I got the one with the book, so I can actually talk about that. And it came in, you know, your standard Llewellyn cardboard box. You might notice that mine's really beat up. I actually had to stick it back together because mine's I carry it around in my book bag a lot, and that's where the whole asking my nanas and then me learning how to make tarot bags came into play, because I could not, and then I got 2 bags, this one and the steampunk, which that's what happened with that box too. Don't carry it around in your book bag. It's gonna fall apart. And the bags, I think, were like $10 a piece. They're embroidered and stuff. And then I was like, I don't want to pay $10 every single time I get a bag. Like, no. You could probably make these. And they're like, you can make these. These are easy. It's like, okay, let's start making some tarot bags. So yeah, that's what comes in if you get it with the book. And then you can also get it without. I've seen that actually at the metaphysical store before. My bookstore I go to, which is Books A Million Bam, has not sold it at my store, so I did see it at the metaphysical store. Okay, so the next point to talk about that's written in my notebook is the cardstock for the deck, which these are the backs. The only thing that I've changed about this deck is I have edged it. I haven't trimmed it. It really hasn't. The quality of it's still pretty much the same. The only difference is really that it's edged in silver now, so just kind of bearing that in mind. I would never do a review of like any of my trim decks, but like edge decks, I mean, look, normal, that's the difference, so, the cardstock is pretty good. I have some Llewellyn, how many do I have? Got at least 4 or 5, maybe like 5. I don't know. I've got like 44 decks, tarot decks. And anyway, out of my Llewellyn decks, this one has the thickest cardstock. Like, it's pretty thick. Like, I don't think I have. I actually have that one over. Whoops, my purse fell down. Oh, it's not in that drawer. It's in that one, isn't it? Yeah. I had another one just right there. This is the steampunk, which is also Llewellyn. So, thickness, comparing it to my copy of the Shadowscapes, you can see this is thicker. Like, it feels thicker. But yeah, it's thicker. more durable. And I don't know if it's gone down with quality, since I know that some of their decks are having more thinner cardstock, like the copy of the Line Starter I have and the Manga Tarot. I mean, I'll use it. I just wish that maybe it was more like steampunk, which is like thin, but like I feel like it's not gonna get too messed up unless like I really drop it, like I did the one card. But even then, I was able to bend it back. So yeah, this one's thick, so that's the cardstock. And of course, size-wise, which also goes in there, it's your typical Llewellyn size. I mean, if you have a Llewellyn deck or have been around a Llewellyn deck, you know what size they are. I mean, they're like literally the same size. It's just this one's thicker than the other Llewellyn decks that I have. Okay, so next part to talk about would be the book. And this one, you could get the little light booklet if you got it in that version, or if you're like me and if there's an option to get a big book, you're gonna get the big book. And especially if you're getting it for like Christmas or something, you'll be like, yo, I want the big book version. I want to read that book. I want to get more info. And this is the book, the Shadowscapes Companion. Oh, I didn't say who the deck's by. The deck, which the artwork's freaking beautiful. I follow her on Tumblr. It's Stephanie Law. I love her art. It's very beautiful. And then, of course, like, it's also done by Barbara Moore. Whoops. I always gotta drop something. Always gotta drop something. So, of course, like, the book. Yeah. So, like, going through, you've got, like, the introduction, you've got the basics, you've got the way the deck's structured, you've got what each, like, aces to the kings and what they kind of all mean. You've got, like, the basic meanings versus the artist. You've got positionals. It's been a while since I've looked through the actual beginning of the book. So that's why I'm just flipping through. You got your spreads. And then, of course, you get into the actual cards. And each card, I kind of like how this is set up. You get a full page. It's in black and white, though, but it's a full page, which is, it would be nice if it was in color, like higher quality. Just because, like, the cards have a lot of little details in them. But, yeah, the majors and how they go, you know, and then you got the full, kind of like a little detail. You get, what I love is I love this part. You get, like, a story, like a segment of the story. And then you get your meanings, which, yeah, it's just, and I just love, like, the story. And, of course, it does also talk, almost kind of even story-wise in the meanings, too. But, like, for instance, how it starts the Fools. It begins with a whispered voice. The serpentine song threads through her days and her thoughts. It beckons, come, come, come. Where? She asked, curious, but there is no response. Like, it's story-wise, and I love just writing stuff as, and, like, seeing tarot cards as stories. So, I love that. It helped me, like, steampunk helped me definitely artwork-wise, because it's very much like the Rider-Waite-Smith, where this deck is not, so it was hard for me to always remember. But some cards, if I was like, you know, I could read the story, and yeah. So and the majors kind of have it separate. For the minors, you get the full page, and then just another page, which is kind of like meaning art as well. And there's a lot of tiny, like, I got the Llewellyn calendar for this year, and it mentioned, it's the Empress is one of the days. Is that February? I don't even remember. Yeah, that one. It mentioned, I don't know what it actually was. It mentioned something, like, on her or something. And I was like, I didn't even notice that. And then, like, seeing the picture even bigger, I, like, noticed how her hands almost look kind of bark-like, and it's like, I couldn't even tell, which is the reason why my mom, although she loves the art, doesn't want to get the deck, because there's so many little details, you know, that you can't always see them all, because, you know, it's tarot cards, you know, so they're not, like, huge. It'd be cool if there was a giant edition. But yeah, the book's really nice, and, you know, you get more spreads at the end. And I just love that story element. Like, it's a really good book. I really like this one, and I really like the steampunk books. Like, they were there for me when I was first learning tarot. So, the next part is going to be a walkthrough, which I'll cut to that. So, I'm going to go ahead and cut to the walkthrough, because I feel like having the cards on the screen instead of me holding them up will be more clear. Hey, here's the, walk-through part of it. I didn't think I'd have to move that back out. Okay. In the video, because the camera likes to cut stuff off, I don't want to pull it out too far, considering how I have the setup. But the top just has that silver border again. But anyway, here's the cards. The order that I'm showing them in are obviously the majors first, and then swords, cups, pentacles, and then wands. And I usually always, when I organize a deck myself, I usually put them in that order because it's my favorite suit to my least favorite. And it's not like I don't like wands, they were the hardest for me to get, and I just, you know, I kind of like the other ones more. Since if I ever have any issues, it is with the wands. I don't know why. Guess I'm just not really I'm all for, and I'm literally a creative person. It's just wands and tarot. Besides the court cards are fine. But anyway, here's just the flip through part. So we got the Fool. Just very, very pretty. Just very, very free. And it almost wonders, like, will she fall? Will she fly? There's all those birds helping her, you know? The outfit actually kind of makes me think a bit of Ariel from The Little Mermaid. You know, like when she gets out of the water for the first time and kind of just wraps that stuff around her. I don't know why I'm thinking of this just now. I never thought of that before. But like, yeah, you could see all the little tiny details in here, which like on camera, even in person, I have to pull it closer to my face because there's just so many little things. Okay, we got the Magician, and I really like this Magician card. He's very cool looking. Like, I literally, he's just a beautiful magician, okay, man? The High Priestess, which I really like the owl. And then you've got the pomegranate. The Empress, like, I didn't even notice it until I saw a bigger picture. How her hands, the fingers are kind of like long and kind of makes me think of, like, you know, plants. It was the wreath was mentioned in the calendar, which I didn't really even notice before, man. Yeah, it's a beautiful Empress card. It works very well with, like, how I see the Empress. It's not just, you know, a pregnant lady. You know, it's very life and very planty without having to have that. And I really like this Emperor. It feels very structured, you know, very grounded. I mean, literally there's roots coming up and wrapping themselves around him. The Hierophant, which is a tree guy, which is pretty cool. For me, the Lovers is kind of like, not like, I usually am not really in for the coupley ones, but it's so pretty. And they're, if you look really small, which I didn't even notice really before, because literally it's like you notice something every single time you go to use the deck, you know? Like there's little apple there, which actually makes me think of the whole Adam and Eve story, so there actually is that little bit of choice in there. Chariot. And of course, like, something like that I wouldn't necessarily know. It's been so long since I've read the book, and it was very much kind of the whole, I don't know if I read it much for the majors. I think I actually might have just read it for the minors. Because it was very much learning, so I would pull cards and then I'd read the book, so I don't really read it start to finish. The Strength. I like this Hermit. It's very, very pretty and just gorgeous, you know? And then a beautiful Wheel of Fortune. And there's Justice. The Hanged Man. And then Death, which I hear people really like this card, and I like this one too. You get the girl who's turning into a phoenix with all the fire. And it's almost like the light's going into the bits below, which is all dark. So you very much get that rebirth element with Death. Temperance. The Devil, which I really like this Devil as well. I really like how the heart's kind of like in a cobweb. Then of course the trap figure. And there's the Tower. Trying to get a little bit better, I think. Got the star. The moon, which I really like this moon. It's very dreamlike. And there's the mask, which of course makes me think of masquerades and, you know, how that can be like an illusion. It's just very dreamy, illusiony, and it works very well with kind of like more how I read the moon. The sun. Judgment, which you could see that the people that are rising are actually here, which almost looks like it's her dress, but like her dress kind of ends there, and it's just got all of that coming from the flowers. Very pretty. Oop. Then here's the world, which I really like this world card. It's just so green and pretty. This deck's just pretty, okay? For the minors, I might not talk as much, which was kind of my point. I didn't really want to talk at all, but like the deck's so pretty. It's the Ace of Swords. The Two of Swords, that was actually the card that kind of helped me understand the Two of Swords. I very much like this Two of Swords. It's one of my favorite Two of Swords. And the Three of Swords kind of had helped me understand the Three of Swords. It's very sad but beautiful. The Four of Swords. Five of Swords. Six of Swords. The Seven of Swords, which I very much like how the thiefy looking character looks. The Eight of Swords, which I really like this Eight of Swords because of the whole little bits of hope going on there. And I also like how this looks actually kind of like a figure as well up there. Like you can see the hand and the face, and this is like almost like wings or a cloak. The Nine of Swords. I remember I had read the book description for that one, and I really liked the book description for it. About the whole afraid to fly. Ten of Swords. The Page of Swords. Knight of Swords. The Queen of Swords, which is so pretty. And the King of Swords, which I remember reading the book description for that one with these birds here. It relates back to Norse mythology with Odin and his two birds. I can't remember their names at the moment. Bit too tired to remember. I think one has to do with memory, maybe? I don't even know. I can't think of it. Ace of Cups. The Two of Cups, which is very, very pretty. Three of Cups. The Four of Cups. Five of Cups. The Six of Cups. That one's so nice. Kind of gives you almost an Alice in Wonderland kind of thing because of how dreamy it is. It's a tea party, the girl's blonde, but it's also like more, you know? Or not exactly. I don't know. You know, it's just pretty and lovely, and I love that Six of Cups. That one was the card that helped me learn the Six of Cups. So. Seven of Cups. The Eight of Cups. Nine of Cups. The Ten of Cups. The Page of Cups. Knight of Cups. The Queen of Cups. Such a pretty Queen of Cups. And the King of Cups. The Ace of Pentacles. The Two of Pentacles. Three of Pentacles. The Four of Pentacles. The Five of Pentacles. Six of Pentacles. Seven of Pentacles. The Eight of Pentacles, which I really like that Eight of Pentacles. The Nine of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles. The Page of Pentacles, which is, if you have the book version, that's the card on the book, companion book. The Knight of Pentacles. The Queen of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles. I love the core cards. I like the core cards in this deck. The core cards are so beautiful. It's the King. The Ace of Wands. Two of Wands. The Three of Wands. Four of Wands. Hanson, what are you doing? He wants to get in where the towels are, apparently. Manson's one of our cats. The troublemaker one. The Five of Wands. The Six of Wands. The Seven of Wands. The Eight of Wands. The Nine of Wands. Ten of Wands. Page of Wands. Knight of Wands. The Queen of Wands, which actually, that one makes me think of the Page of Wands. And finally, oops. And finally, the King of Wands. Yeah, those are all of the cards. And yeah. Yo, Manson, are you having fun? Are you having fun in the towels? Hi. Well, now that you see Manson, I'm gonna go ahead and go back to the review. I thought I'd add him because, you know, he just happens to come in and be an adorable cat. Hello. Okay, so those were all of the pretty cards. This deck's really pretty. Like, the minors are my favorite. Like, the majors are pretty, and I've got some favorites in the majors, but, like, I love the minors. Like, the three of Swords, like, I love that card. So yeah, that was the walkthrough of all the cards, me flipping through them all. I technically have not filmed that part yet, but you've already seen it. My future self has already done it. Anyway, yeah, so the next part is where it kind of is a bit different than most people's reviews. Part of the reason I wanted to redo my one, because I didn't include the one bit, so yeah. This is where it's going to be a little bit different, and not everyone agrees with me with this kind of thing, so I like to, you know, personify the decks. To me, like, the messages come from them, not myself, no higher thing, it's from the decks. So, you know, I nickname all the decks. So, obviously, I have a nickname for this one, and I also like to write down how their personality seems to be for me as well. I do that in my Google Doc, and then eventually I write them down in my tarot journals as well. It's kind of just an exercise thing that I do. So the personality, at least, people would get, because it'll be like, oh, this deck feels more like a spring deck, or a more financial kind of deck, or this one's good for love readings. Like, you kind of get that with personality. I took it a step further, which I'll say after the personality. So I'm going to go ahead and this is the summary that I've written for this deck. I gotta take a sip though. Give me a sip of tea real quick. Okay. So this is what I've written while, you know, like, holding the deck and just kind of getting a feel for it. This is what I wrote. Enter the land of dreams. Go into your subconscious, where knights that save the innocent and magicians that work various kinds of magic lies. This is the realm of Shadowscapes. Angelica, which is my copy, will guide you and show you what you need to know. She will help you because this is what she wants to do. She does not align with positive, negative, or neutral. She is simply herself. While this deck may not be the best with earthy things, she will tell you about emotions, dreams, and thoughts. You just simply need to escape to her realm. Will you? That's just kind of how I write deck summaries. But yeah, for me, the deck kind of comes off as otherworldly, which kind of makes sense with the imagery. So, like, the deck, I hear a lot of people say that the deck's healing, and I think I've heard one or two people mention it and comparing it to spring, and then also healing. And for me, the deck, at least when I read with it, I'm really only drawn to read with it during winter, which is something I realized when I realized, you know, I hadn't been reading with it for a while, and then I'm like, And winter came around and I'm like, I want to read the deck. So it's very much a winter deck for me. Out of the suits, it feels kind of more swordsy in a way. Like swords fuse kind of with cups, you know, which would make sense, the emotions, dreams, and thoughts. It very much feels kind of like intellectual, but not like as much as swords can be. So there's that. You know, I made that sound bad. No, like, it's just, it feels very otherworldly. It feels intellectual, but not, like, too logical with stuff. You still can get, like, that emotion. When I first did an interview with it, I asked what element it would be, and it was kind of classed as, like, no element. Same with how it fused things. It's literally kind of just itself. Almost like it doesn't really align with anything. So, like, is it really even right to compare it to the Swords and Cups? It's literally just itself. Like, it's that kind of deck for me. And it can vary with different people. Like, that's why I bring up how in other reviews people say it's very healing, you know. I think that's probably the biggest thing I hear about when I have watched videos with people mentioning or talking about the deck in it, is that it's very healing. Where for me, it's not really a healing deck. It's more like an otherworldly fantasy deck, which literally you can get from the artwork. So yeah, that's how it is for me. Okay, this is the part where I kind of do something a little bit extra that most reviews, at least any review I've seen, doesn't do. And that's just because it's something I've been wanting to do for a while, and I just was not doing it. So I decided to use these reviews almost, and me putting it in, almost like an excuse to get myself to do it. And originally I just wanted to I might still have just a tarot video on this as well. I just wanted to do it in the reviews too, because then I kind of gotta make myself do it. And that is draw a picture of the deck personified. Yeah, because I personify decks, so like I had to flip right to it. So basically what I did is I kind of, you know, I was holding it, I was getting like the feel for it, I was remembering all the readings that I've done for it, and I kind of just let my hand and draw whatever, because sometimes when I use decks, I get like an image of what the deck would look like if it was a real person. And so for this deck, it very much kind of had the whole, you know, almost like, it kind of makes sense with the whole, where'd I put the box? I don't know where I put, oh, it's right there. Like, the deck, the card on the box is the Queen of Swords. And this image for the Queen of Swords actually makes me think very much of this deck. So it's actually kind of fitting that it's on the box. It's on the one for the small one too. Because that's kind of how the image was coming through. And I started drawing, and it actually ended up differing than what I thought, because I just let my hand do whatever. I got like one hand, you know, it just kind of keeps feeling the deck, and I just kind of keep looking through it, and then I just kind of kept going and going and going until it was done. And this is the picture that ended up coming through. So I don't know if you can see it. I did it in a, how much did I go through? I think I did it in a 2H, but then I might have gone through some of the parts with like an HB, which are types of pencils. But yeah, that's kind of how the deck feels for me, image-wise. So kind of like, and I asked my mom if I was kind of getting it right, because sometimes I'll be like, this makes me think of that time period, and then Mom and my brother will be like, what are you on? Like, no it doesn't. And then I asked my mom, I'm like, does this make you think of like an 80s fantasy cartoon character? And she's like, I can see it. Because my brother was like, I didn't watch cartoons back then. I don't know. I've never seen a cartoon from the 80s. And then Mom's like, I see what you're getting at, Des. Like, I can see it. And I'm like, it's the sleeves, isn't it? They're just so big and puffy. And she's like, the 80s did have big sleeves. So, yeah. That's kind of like my little different parts with reviews. And it kind of makes myself finally get down and draw the picture. of the decks and how I feel about them and how they come across to me. And I very much believe that even if you got the Shadowscapes as well, it might not look like that, or it might not have exactly that personality, like I said with all the healing stuff. My mom has a few decks that I also have, the Fountain Tarot, you know, Prisma Visions, Light Visions. I think there's one other deck that I can't think of that we also have in common. And, like, whenever she does readings, or, like, it's almost like she kind of almost expects what it's going to say, but, like, to me, it is different, and I feel like that's not necessarily us as different readers, but to me, like, it comes off more so as the decks are different. I mean, like, it's the same artwork, but, like, it's literally, even if you look at a card, it's a different, it's, I don't know. But yeah, that's just something I have to put out. And the last part I thought about doing with the reviews is if I would recommend the deck, and if I did recommend it, who would I recommend it to? So this deck, first off, I would not recommend to a beginner. Like, I've heard a couple people get this deck as their second deck. I got this deck as my second deck. And my first one, actually, I would say is harder, just because that one didn't even come with a book. But yeah, I had to very much use this steampunk tarot while learning, because while some of the art I really understood from this deck, I didn't understand all of it. I had to kind of, yeah, learn with that deck to kind of use this one. I mean, both are more so. Yeah. So I wouldn't really recommend it to beginner, but I would definitely recommend it to someone that's maybe more intermediate, or, you know, can kind of read without having to use the book, or someone that's at least comfortable with using the book, because not everyone wants to keep looking in the book, but some people do like to look at the cards and what they mean in the books. My mom usually has to do that because she hasn't, like, memorized all of them, and she's pretty much, like, gotten to that point where she's okay with it. She's now giving herself readings instead of being like, what does that mean? You know, so, yeah. Besides that, I would say probably later beginner, intermediate, just because there's a lot, like, imagery-wise in the cards. So that would probably be the skill level. For who, I would say anyone that likes fantasy, anyone that loves her art, like, she's got beautiful art. So anyone that likes her art, anyone that likes fantasy art, but is okay with it being the size of a tarot card, because, like, my mom loves the art in this deck, but she couldn't get the deck because there are so many tiny little things in there. You know, like, I'm just looking at this, and initially you would probably see the guy and the emperor. But then you see, like, the little tiny fairies that are all down in here, and, like, you could see all the branches all going up. There's even, like, some kind of, like, glove gauntlet and, like, a bracelet. You know, with his hands, like, you can even see all the different kind of animals and, like, this design. There's a lot going through that you might not see the first time. So if you're like my mom that would like to be able to look at it and it be bigger to see everything, it wouldn't really be for you. But yeah, would I recommend the deck? Yeah, I'd recommend it. I mean, I don't use it, like, too much, but I used it a lot. And if it wasn't for the fact that I still want to work more so with the decks I got for Christmas, I would probably be using it right now. I mean, it's winter, so yeah. And did I use it? I think I used it a little bit last month, which is when I drew the picture, I think. I don't know. But yeah, so that's everything. I have to go film the walkthrough now, which y'all have already seen, so yeah. But anyway, that was the first, like, kind of review I've done. It wasn't perfect. This is probably really long because I kept talking. I'll have to make sure that the flip through doesn't take too long, hopefully. But yeah, the first, like, review. And like I said, I got 44 decks and I've already ordered my 45th, so I've got some decks that I would like to do reviews that I haven't done unboxings of, and then maybe eventually I'll do reviews of the ones I have unboxed, so we'll see. And I'll probably watch my unboxing then and see if my opinions have changed about certain stuff, because you never know, you never know. Yeah, anyway, that was a walkthrough review of the Shadowscapes Tarot by Stephanie Law and Barbara Moore, and I'm Des from Aro-Tarot, and I'm logging off now, so